The Alvin Bragg case beginning in earnest today in New York, and it's as ludicrous as you could possibly imagine. Jury selection starting today, and it'll take place over the course of the next 2 weeks. But the trial broadly is going to keep Donald Trump tied up and off the campaign trail for some 6 to 8 weeks, according to court watchers. For more on this, a man who's near that very court right now, Mike Davis, founder and president of the Article 3 Project, and he joins us on the phone. Mike, hello, sir.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, obviously the trial brings you to New York, Mike, but what are you doing down there? Are you able to get inside the courtroom, or are you doing media down there?
I am standing outside of the court on Media Row and talking to as many conservative outlets as I can to get out Trump's message, because this Democrat Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan has Trump illegally, unconstitutionally gagged. So President Trump, as a criminal defendant, cannot speak out about evidence he has that Judge Merchan has a conflict of interest. His adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, is a leading Democrat campaign consultant and fundraiser. He's worked for Biden and Kamala Harris and Adam Schiff and other Democrat campaigns and causes, and she's raised over $100 million, or nearly $100 million, on this criminal trial alone, over which her father, Judge Juan Merchan, is presiding. This Judge Juan Merchan donated to Biden in 2020. He donated to another anti-Trump cause. When President Trump raised this clear evidence of bias, Judge Merchan responded with an illegal, unconstitutional gag order against President Trump. And they've also gagged President Trump, where he can't talk about how this Manhattan DA, this George Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, brought in Matthew Colangelo as a senior Biden Justice Department political appointee to resurrect this zombie case against Trump that the prior Manhattan DA, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself declined to prosecute until they weaponized this case, politicized and weaponized this case to interfere in the election. This is lawfare. This is election interference. And so I'm out here talking to as many media outlets as possible. I think you're like my 10th interview today. And I would say this to these Democrat prosecutors and judges: there's no way in hell you're going to gag me. You're going to have to put me in jail first.
Mike Davis, one of the other ways this Judge Merchan apparently has helped this George Soros-funded attorney Alvin Bragg go after Trump is he actually extended the statute of limitations on a felony charge against Trump by an extra year because he said COVID allows him to do that. Is that true? COVID-19 emergencies allow you to change the rule of law?
Apparently. And remember what this allegation is. You have, back in around 2016, President Trump allegedly paid off a nuisance claim to make someone go away, which businessmen do all the time. And then Trump's bookkeepers and accountants booked it in 2017, allegedly, right? And so what Alvin Bragg is trying to say with this bogus legal theory is that when he booked these in 2017, it was somehow a campaign benefit from 2016. It's somehow a campaign finance violation from 2016. It is a laughable legal theory. This is the Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, who is downgrading violent felony charges against people who are pushing old ladies down the stairs at churches and punching kids in the face. They're not going after those violent criminals for felonies. They're downgrading them to misdemeanors at best, and sometimes just letting them go while they're trying to upgrade these bookkeeping misdemeanors at best that are clearly time barred beyond the statute of limitations to go after Trump. And as you said, even the felony charges would be time barred, but for the fact they're trying to blame COVID.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a feature of the law. Like, so just a health emergency means that you get an extra year? The judge can just make that up? Don't you need legislation to declare that?
Yeah, it seems pretty crazy. But look, there's no chance in hell that President Trump is going to get a fair trial with these Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat judges and these Democrat juries and these Democrat witnesses and other operatives in these Democrat hellholes like New York D.C., and Atlanta.
Well,
This jury pool is
yes.
85% against President Trump. There's no chance in hell Trump's going to get a. You have a biased judge who donated to Biden, and his daughter is making money working for Biden, including making money working on this trial. You have
Yes.
this biased prosecutor with Matthew Colangelo coming up from the Biden Justice Department and the Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg. You have a jury pool that's 85% against Trump. There's no way in hell. This is why the Democrats waged this lawfare in election interference in New York, D.C., and Atlanta.
So let's talk first and foremost about the jury selection. It's going on starting today, and it's going to apparently take the next 2 weeks. You can correct my misunderstanding, if any, over any of this. I saw the questionnaire, and among the questions prospective jurors are being asked are you on Truth Social? They're literally vetting whether or not you might be a Trump supporter based on if you're on Truth Social, his social media app. And what role, if any, does Trump's team play here in jury selection? Are they going to be able to argue for any favorable jurors or any dispassionate people here?
I mean, remember what they're doing here. You have like 2 million people who live in Manhattan, and you're going to try to find 12 jurors and another 6 alternate jurors out of those 2 million people. It's 85% against Trump. And they're asking questions on this jury questionnaire to weed them out for their bias, whether they follow Trump on social media, ask them if they follow other Trump causes, if they're on Truth, but they're not asking in this jury questionnaire. This Democrats Manhattan judge Juan Merchan's not asking these potential jurors if they follow Biden, right? And so you're gonna be able to quickly find out if these are Trump supporters, and then the prosecution gets 10 peremptory challenges where they can just get rid of, you might find 10 Trump supporters in all of Manhattan, and when they fill out this questionnaire, the prosecution is going to be able to get rid of all 10 of them.
Okay. And then the trial itself, I mean, in combination of jury selection and the trial itself, I'm seeing these reports that it could take at least 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. That's a lot of time. And Donald Trump will be stuck in a courtroom every day of the week except for Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, he has to be in the courtroom. And the judge today, my understanding is he threatened Trump with arrest if he doesn't appear.
Which is insane, right? So this is obviously part of the Democrats' campaign of lawfare and election interference. They want President Trump in a courtroom instead of on the campaign trail. And it's what we've been talking about for nearly 2 years, going back to the unprecedented, unlawful, unnecessary Mar-a-Lago raid on Trump for presidential records he's allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. This is lawfare, and we've been saying it for nearly 2 years. People said we were conspiracy theorists and crazy, and here we are in April of 2024, just 6 months before the election really heats up, before voting starts heating up in October and November, and they want Trump in a courtroom. It's so blatant, it's so transparent what they're doing. And it's these, as I've been saying for many, many months, these are republic-ending tactics. The people who pretend like they're saving democracy are destroying democracy. They're trying to bankrupt Trump for non-fraud and non-defamation. They're trying to put him in prison for the rest of his life for non-crimes. They try to take him off the ballot. These Democrats fear American voters on November 5th, 2024, because they know that the American people want President Trump back in the White House, and the American people aren't going to tolerate Democrat prosecutors and judges and other attorneys instead of the American people deciding this next election.
Also, the process, we often hear the phrase, the process is the punishment. That's certainly the case here. If you're freezing a major presidential candidate off the campaign trail for 2 whole months on nonsense charges that do not rate this type of pain, then this is cruel and unusual, Mike, what we're watching.
It's worse than that. This is a criminal conspiracy by these Democrat operatives, these judges, these prosecutors, these other attorneys, these other operatives. This is a criminal conspiracy to violate the civil rights of Trump, his top aides, his attorneys, his supporters. This is obvious lawfare. This is obvious election interference. This is a criminal conspiracy. and there must be consequences for this after President Trump wins re-election on November 5th, 2024. The Trump 47 Justice Department must open a criminal probe on this blatant criminal conspiracy to violate the civil rights of so many Americans.
President Trump said on Friday, as he was standing alongside Speaker Mike Johnson, that he would absolutely testify in this trial. From your legal perspective, is that a wise decision, regardless of how righteous his testimony might be?
I would say this, that in normal circumstances, no, you generally don't have the criminal defendant testify in most circumstances. But this is no normal case. This is not a real criminal case. This is election interference. This is lawfare. And if President Trump is gagged illegally and cannot go on the campaign trail, if he goes on the campaign trail, he gets thrown in prison by this Democrat operative in a robe, then guess what? President Trump they just need to let Trump be Trump and go do his thing. He's not going to get a fair trial no matter what. This Democrats-dominated jury is going to find him guilty. This Democrat judges convict him. The conviction will get reversed on appeal, even if that means going up to the Supreme Court of the United States. But that's going to take many, 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 many months, maybe years for that to happen. This is about winning the election on November 5th. 2024.
Yeah, and they're really trying to stick it to him. They're not even, the judge right now apparently is contemplating whether or not he'll even let Trump away from the trial for his son Barron's high school graduation set to take place on May 17th. And the judge is contemplating whether or not he'll even allow it. I mean, how heartless to even consider keeping Trump in that courtroom.
Yeah, this Democrat judge is just a total partisan operative, and what he is doing with this case is highly destructive to our country. These are Republican tactics by these Democrats, where you can use our legal system to take out political opponents. And when you're a judge, you're supposed to be a check on that. Your job as a judge is to make sure the criminal defendant gets a fair trial and his constitutional rights are not trampled on by the prosecution. And they've put these illegal gag orders on President Trump. If there's anyone on the planet who must have the constitutional right under the First, Sixth, and 14th Amendments to speak out against the judge, the prosecutor, the staff, the witnesses, their biases or potential biases, the process, it is a criminal defendant going through a criminal process. And that is particularly true when you have a candidate, particularly a presidential candidate, the leading presidential candidate, they're trying to illegally, unconstitutionally gag and threaten to put him in prison if he speaks out about the evidence of the judge's clear bias, or if he doesn't sit in a chair for 2 months during the height of the campaign season. This is the stuff that you do in third world Marxist hellholes like Zimbabwe, North Korea, and now D.C., New York, and Atlanta. There must be severe legal, political, and financial consequences for what these Democrats are doing to Trump and his top supporters and his lawyers and his top aides. This is a criminal conspiracy to violate their civil rights.
Mike Davis, founder and president of the Article 3 Project just outside the courthouse there in New York. Sir, we'll have you back again soon. As always, thank you very much, Mike.